Today, I've decided it's time to update my vision board. When I would have VIP clients come and do a virtual workshop with me, this is one of the things that we would do together. And it's a lot of fun. It's not your average vision board. I definitely like to take things to the next level. And this is my old one that I am getting ready to redo. So this is basically what we'll be doing. It's a shadow box that you can pick up at any craft store. Any store that sells framing supplies. They're relatively inexpensive. Look for the sales. I usually pick them up when they're 50% off. And this is a, I believe, 16 by 20 board, and I have used a shadow box so that I can go three-dimensional with it. So I can mount things, I can glue things. I've got twigs in here, crystals and rocks, and three-dimensional things popping out like this book and this key and a chain that rattles around in there. But most of the stuff on this board, for me, is outdated. 2020 changed a lot. And we like to say that all of the things that we do are written in chalk, so that not that we're not committed to making them happen, but that we are free to change our ideas as new information presents itself. And so pretty much everything on this board is either not going to happen or not going to happen here. So I figured it's time for me to recreate it. This is the backing board that's in there. It's just a bit of foam to press this forward so that it's not, rattling too much. I want to create a new board entirely, so I have two choices. Oh, look, I was smart. Again, everything's written in chalk. I actually just used Scotch tape to tape my pieces on here. So, and I'm going to reuse some of these elements. I'm not going to throw the whole thing out. So all I have to do is pull it right up. And I can take off this tape here. And I will use this board again to make sure I have the right size. Alright, so now I want to pull off the elements that I want to keep. I use hot glue. I'll link it in the description below. It does a really great job of adhering stuff very well, but still being able to remove it. So if you don't have a vision board, or you just have a basic vision board and you're ready to do a three-dimensional vision board like this one, then you can reuse elements as I'm doing, or you can start from scratch. I'm using painter's tape because it'll make it so that if I really want to, I can save some of this paper for later. I'm not committed if I want to change things around because it's removable. Now, I have a lot of scrapbook paper. I'm using that because I can cover more ground on here, and I just need something for my background that fits what I want to put on here. So in thinking through my vision, Hubs and I sat down a few nights ago and outlined a whole bunch of stuff that I was smart enough to put on my iPad. Some of this stuff would be easier if I had my computer up here and I could plug it in the printer and print off pictures to put on here like I did for my old board. But I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to try to be more metaphorical so that the average person is going to look at it and go, I'm not really sure what she's saying here, but I like it. It looks cool. But I will know what it means. And I'm going to start going through these papers. See if I can find anything that works for what I want to convey. I think I'm going to start with a nature-esque background, but a wood floor. And for this, I'm going to need my paper cutter. Now, I want something that's going to signify art. I'm going to paint pour skin, and instead of going to the trouble of putting out a whole tarp and everything, I'm just going to use a wrapped canvas here. because this is going to need to take some time to dry. So it's got the plastic, it should peel off pretty easy. So I'm just going to shake these mediums up. This is pre-mixed pouring medium. I have an idea for what I want this to look like. So I'm going to start with some white. That's always a good foundational color. Pour it in there, enough to cover the bottom of the cup. I don't want this to be a big pour. This is just going to be something that I'm going to put as part of the background. A little bit of white. Try and get this pretty much in the middle. Now I want to take these little branches that I have. We just have all sorts of miniature set building stuff. And I want to cut them down so they basically form three-dimensional trees against my tree backdrop. Pull some of these out, find some that are a little more flat. There it goes. So I don't want anything taller than this. So I've got myself some oregano. I have spray adhesive. And now I've got a little tree. Let me introduce you to my favorite tool. This is the Black & Decker hot glue gun. I'll link it in the description below, don't worry. It is my favorite thing ever. I use strictly acrylic glue sticks with it. You can use any glue sticks, but I prefer the acrylic. They're a stronger bond and they're easier to remove, as you saw at the beginning of the video when I was taking those pieces off of my board. I like this, being that it's a mailbox. So that's a possibility. It's a bit big, but it could be fun to play with that and put something coming out of it. You want to allow yourself plenty of time to do this because this is not a typical search on Pinterest and save pictures and print them out and throw them onto a board process. This is more of a deeply thought out, how do things are going to connect. As you're doing the creative process, more stuff's going to come up, that kind of process. So with that said, I have a few things here that signify different things to my life and things that I want to see continue or be in my life. And I'm going to be gluing those to my flat pieces here. One of the things we've been talking about is moving to a home in the woods, which is why I've got the tree background and I have this tree here. Now, one of the things about our home in the woods is I want water nearby, and part of my paint pour that I did hopefully will work for the water as well. So all I'm going to do is take my nifty hot glue gun here. Now this glue, because it's acrylic, it does cool off and adhere very fast. So I'm only tacking right now. Just going to tack it down like so. It does help to have all this stuff on hand, and if you're a planner, I'm not, to be completely honest. I just kind of look around and go with the flow. But if you are a planner, then what you're going to want to do is map out or draw out what you'd like your vision board to look like. Go get all the supplies you think you're going to need for it, and then sit down and make it and give yourself plenty of time. When you're dealing with really tiny stuff in this hot glue gun, you want to be very careful not to get this little silver tip on your fingers. Something that I think would be cool is to have a fire pit. Now, rocks can make this very heavy, and I don't want it pulling on the paper. So I'm going to try and choose flat rocks for this. I know I have about 1 inch of space for my glass, so I'm fingers crossed that the glass isn't going to press too hard against this or the mailbox. So now I have my little fire pit ready for friends, because that's definitely part of it, is I want to have friends around. So we have so far. Mailboxes also can signify what's coming to you. So I think what I want for that, pyrite. That's cool. So pyrite signifies money. I want money to come to me. And citrine is for health. Now for what I really want to be doing with my life. So what I want to do is figure out how I want this to look. I want water on the property, so there's that. But water also signifies flow, and for me, the mailbox is both a sending and receiving, because you can put mail in to mail out, and you can receive. So I've got my pyrite and my citrine in there, but I also am thinking of making this almost like it's a waterfall, and I have this natural pattern here that's perfect for that. I just have to cut it out without it sticking on itself. So let's try to do that right now. This actually turned out better than I expected it to. So I've decided that, executive decision, this is going to be more symbolic of what I want in my personal life. I encourage you to create a board however you enjoy, whatever you like, whether it's personal, professional goals, your business. I personally have a different idea in mind for what I want for business. So I will be doing a separate board just for that because it's a pretty big vision. Pro tip, when you're doing a 3D board, 3D is key. So if you have something like this right here, where you want it to stay elevated off of the base until it connects to your background, I love these little mini logs. They're just cut pieces of branch, actual wood, and they're really good for stacking on top of each other if you want more height, or just single ones behind here for a little bit of height. And they come in tons of different sizes, so I can find the exact size that I want. I really don't need a big one because this is kind of a skinny part here. I got this little guy here, and all I'm going to do is put a little bit of hot glue on both sides of them. I'm just going to stick it behind there, pack that, paint pour down so that it's more like it's flowing out of my mailbox. Now it's more of a gradual flow out of my mailbox. And now I want to add in the paintbrush, probably like that. That's fun. Oh, I just got an idea. Being in tune with the key to my heart being books, because I love books, I am going to thread this chain through the hole on here. This is where just, creativity comes into play. And for that, I need a couple tools. Alright, so now I want to think through what else I want represented in my life. I've got art, the home, little elements of the home, and like symbolizing friends around a campfire. So I made a little box, and now I'm just painting the outside of it this bronzy color. Sitting around the studio, I found a random skin from a previous paint pour that I did. This is like a whole conglomerate of colors. It's very cool looking. So I'm going to mount this down in my corner just because I think it'll add a splash of color down there, if for no other reason than to continue the art theme. But for this one, I'm going to use super glue instead of my hot glue, mostly to keep it from bubbling too badly. It's okay if it bubbles up off the surface a little bit, because this is a three-dimensional board. It doesn't have to be completely flat. And it's okay if a little bit of the glue seeps out, because this will dry nice and clear. Okay, so coming out of this box is going to be stuff that I enjoy. One thing that I like to do when I'm adhering heavy pieces like this metal camera is to first glue it on with the acrylic and then reinforce it with some super glue. The two combined makes it very difficult for this to just fall off. Tip number 1. Have an idea in mind as to what you would like your life to look like in the next year or so. Maybe a couple years, maybe up to 5 years. Don't really go beyond that, because we can't really plan out 5 years. 2020 was a sign of that. It also helps if you write down some of your goals, like I did with my husband on my iPad, so that you have some kind of idea going into this what you'd like to create. Tip number 2, have some sort of things on hand. Maybe you have a craft room, maybe you have a friend with a craft room, maybe you have a full-fledged art studio, maybe you're just starting to dabble, but go to a craft store and get some supplies for the kinds of things that speak to you, things that you like. It doesn't just have to be making trees or water or something like that, but colors that inspire you. I mean, this could be an abstract painting if you want it to be. It can be anything you want. The key is to have fun with it and to choose little things that remind you of happiness and joy you'd like to see in your life. Tip number 3, take your time. This doesn't have to be something that's done in a couple of hours. I've been working on mine now for a total of about 3 hours so far, split among a couple of days, mostly because of the things I want to do with the paint, needing to allow it to dry, and needing to take my time, creating the different things and letting the glue set. So you don't want to rush the process. Plus, you may find that you come up with ideas because as you start this creation process, it gets your creative center in your brain, otherwise known as or called the right brain, it gets it engaged. And the more you surround yourself with creativity and supplies, the more you're going to see something that goes, oh, I love that. I think I want to put that in there too. Tip number 4, if you feel like you want to keep adding to it, keep adding to it. If you get other ideas, you can always pop it out of the frame and add something to it later. This is meant to be a fluid representation of what you want in life. So let it be just that. Let it be a living canvas. Here is my finished 3D vision board. We have over here representing what I want in a home as far as like the place, what I want to be coming to me and flowing out of my life, represented by the mailbox. The art that I want to create, represented by the paintbrush and my fingerprint, because nobody can do it quite like me. It's a unique mark. Campfire here, because I want to live somewhere where it's nice, wide, and open, and we can have friends around a campfire. And I still want to keep writing, and that's what the book here represents. The key to my happiness, which is living fully in myself, which includes all of my interests and the things that I want to do in life. I have words stamped in the background. I've got music stamped in the background because music has always been a part of my life. And the words, of course, represent writing. And then, of course, down here we have my little toy box. Pun intended. My first retail store was called Toy Box Gifts and Wonder. We had to close that store, but my dreams continue to live on, represented by all these little guys in here. So that's it. That is my vision board. I would love to see what yours looks like. Post a link in the comments below to a picture or a video of you creating your board. And I look forward to seeing all the cool stuff you can come up with. Just have fun with it. And I'll see you in the next video. Now, when I would have VIP... I'm gonna sneeze. I'll link this in. You're not recording anymore? I'm doing one long recording, experimenting.
Okay.
Explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing as I go along.
Hey, so.
They can see you from here down.
So.
Okay, pretty sure I spluttered paint in my eye. Paint on my face. Tip number 2. Go shopping.